Hello, it is me once again. I thought I'd do a reading of quotes from Arthur Schopenhauer's On the Sufferings of the World essay. And let's see how many we can find. The best consolation in misfortune or affliction of any kind will be the thought of other people who are in a still worse plight than yourself. And this is a form of consolation open to everyone. But what an awful fate this means for mankind as a whole. We are like lambs in a field, disporting themselves under the eye of the butcher, who chooses out first one and then another for his prey. When you consider how great and immediate is the problem of existence, this ambiguous, tormented, fleeting, dreamlike existence, so great and so immediate that as soon as you are aware of it, it overshadows and obscures all the problems and aims. And when you then see how men, with a few rare exceptions, have no clear awareness of this problem, indeed seem not to be conscious of it at all, but concern themselves with anything rather than this problem, and live on taking thought only for the day and for the hardly longer span of their own individual future, either expressively refusing to consider this problem or contenting themselves with some system of popular metaphysics. Today it is bad. Day by day it will get worse, until at last the worst of all arrives. For longer to have had to rack your brains for something, the more firmly will it stay once you have got it. As a reliable compass for orientating yourself in life, nothing is more useful than to accustom yourself to regarding this world as a place of atonement, a sort of penal colony. When you have done this, you will order your expectations of life according to the nature of things, and no longer regard the calamities, sufferings, torments, and miseries of life as something irregular and not to be expected, but will find them entirely in order, well knowing that each of us is here being punished for his existence, and each in his own particular way. This outlook will enable us to view the so-called imperfections of the majority of men, i.e., their moral and intellectual shortcomings, and the facial appearance resulting therefrom, without surprise and certainly without indignation, for we shall always bear in mind where we are consequently regard every man first and foremost as a being who exists only as a consequence of his culpability, and whose life is an expiation of the crime of being born. If the immediate and direct purpose of our life is not suffering, then our existence is the most ill-adapted to its purpose in the world. The life of an individual is a constant struggle, and not merely a metaphorical one against want or boredom, but also an actual struggle against other people. He discovers adversaries everywhere, lives in continual conflict, and dies with sword in hand. Life presents itself first and foremost as a task. The task of maintaining itself, the task of earning one's living. If this task is accomplished, what has been gained is a burden, and there then appears a second task, that of doing something with it so as to ward off boredom, which hovers over every secure life like a bird of prey. Thus, the first task is to gain something, and the second is to become unconscious of what has been gained, which is otherwise a burden. In the first place, no man is happy, but strives his whole life long after a supposed happiness which he seldom attains, and even if he does it, is only to be disappointed with it. There is no happiness on earth to compare with that which is a beautiful and fruitful mind finds in a propitious hour within itself. Don't know what that word means exactly. We take no pleasure in existence except when we are striving after something. Not the least of the torments which plague our existence is the constant pressure of time, which never lets us so much as draw breath, but pursues us all like a taskmaster with a whip. It ceases to persecute only him it has delivered over to boredom. Pleasure and well-being is negative and suffering is positive. The happiness of a given life is not to be measured according to the joys and pleasures it contains, but according to the absence of the positive element, the absence of suffering. Nature is unfathomable because we seek after causes and consequences in a realm where this form is not to be found. We try to reach the inner being of nature, which looks out at us from every phenomenon under the guidance of the principle of sufficient reason. Whereas this is merely the form under which our intellect comprehends appearance, i.e. the surface of things, while we want to implore it beyond the bounds of appearance, for within these bounds it is serviceable and sufficient. I think that'll do it for now. Thanks for listening.